Disclaimer: the following show is a product of typical millennial boredom and contains two college friends who can blabber shit for hours. Anything being said is either derived from personal experiences, internet, or is a work of fiction. In no way is it meant to hurt the sentiments of any living or non-living being, and also no animals were harmed in the making.
Hello everyone, welcome to Millennials Ecstasy. I'm Manan,
And I'm Dikshant.
and here we are trying to bring back those quirky discussions about topics that excite us or things we feel are totally messed up. Now, whether it be college, sports, technology, society, viral sensations, work life, or whatever it may be. Alongside some obvious notes, we'll also try to bring about certain aspects of it which we feel are just not spoken enough.
And for the second episode, we're coming to the most obvious thing people think about after relationships. That is death.
I don't see how that is very obvious, but ठीक है.
Just, just kidding. We would be discussing something which we both are very interested in talking about, and that is immortality. Cut to intro. Manan, tell me this. What do you think is the average human life expectancy currently?
75, 75.
Okay. And what do you think it was 100 years ago? Around 19th century, 18th century?
10 years less, 65, around somewhere
Yeah,
there.
you're 50% right, 50% wrong. Currently, we are at 75 years of human life expectancy. But interesting fact, around 1900s, the average human life expectancy was from 47 to 50 years. That's it.
Ooh, 1900s is not that far too.
Yeah, and
100
that's the
years.
whole point. In a span of 150 years, we've had a 50% increase in average human life expectancy. And with the same rate, if you see, our medicine and medical technology has grown tremendously. In the distant future, it is not that far away where we have a human average life expectancy of around 150 to 200 years,
Very
given
true, huh?
the rate we are increasing in. This is what brings us to immortality, today's topic. And
Yeah.
to start off with, let me start off. There are two types of immortality. The first one being true immortality. I think you
Hmm.
and me, both of us are well aware what true
Yeah,
immortality is. The gift,
correct.
blessing. You never die.
Blessing,
That kind of
Amar,
thing.
yeah.
And the second one being functional immortality. Now,
Hmm.
what functional immortality means is, through technological means or through any external means, your aging process is either slowed down or reversed. है ना?
Hmm.
Basically, you're pushing your death a little far away. You're increasing your life expectancy. That
Hmm.
is what uh, functional immortality is.
So is it like my body will be less prone to diseases, or like old age won't come to? Could you explain
No,
it more?
no, not that. All of this will still happen. The number of
Hmm.
diseases will still increase, but our capability to fight those diseases would be much better than what we
Acha,
are
oh.
at currently.
Correct,
And
correct, correct, yeah.
we might feel that functional immortality is something very new to us. The
Hmm.
research we've
Yeah.
been doing is something new.
Hmm.
But like, let me tell you, this has been in people's head from a very long time. There was a case when first Chinese emperor sent
Hmm.
out his support group to find that exiler of life in search of
Ah,
immortality. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
around in 16th century, this is very bizarre, but French nobles thought that drinking gold, liquid gold,
Hmm.
would increase their life expectancy. You know,
Colds.
yeah, literally. And this is
Hmm.
the point I'm trying to make, that this has been with people for a very long time. And
Yeah, yeah.
through scientific research or through bizarre things like drinking gold. One thing what I came across very recently, around I think 2015-16, MTV covered a woman who thought that bathing in pig's blood would keep her young. You know,
Bathing
so
in pig's blood.
yeah, would keep her young.
Shit, man, I thought girls go only up to far as makeup for,
Well,
for
okay,
going back in age.
yeah,
But ठीक है.
there are some weirdos. Okay, so that's the whole point, that through scientific research or say bizarre beliefs, people have always tried to achieve
Huh,
that
true.
a greater lifespan, greater life expectancy.
Huh.
And now coming to the legit part, the scientific research, there have been a lot
Hmm.
of them, like some interesting ones and some bizarre also that I came across was the first one being cloning. Now, what
Hmm.
happens is, you understand, right, what cloning is?
Yeah, yeah,
Basically
yeah.
copying something.
Copying.
Now, let's say there's a DNA strand, and
Hmm.
at the end of the DNA strand, there's something called as telomeres. Now, all human beings have it.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
guess all human beings have DNA.
yeah.
So yeah. So they have telomeres. Now what telomeres
Good
does is,
assumption.
yeah, for her. So now what telomeres does is, it helps in copying cells.
Hmm.
है ना? That's an age till
Mhm.
where our cells regenerate or like copy itself,
Ha
right?
ha ha.
So it helps
Correct.
them. So as you grow old, the length of telomeres decreases,
Correct.
and the sign it is that your copying mechanism is slowing down.
Slowing down.
So what scientists are trying to do that they take a very healthy human being, a very young
Hmm.
human being, take his telomeres and match it with your DNA. So basically, artificially increasing the length of
Le-
telomeres,
Hmm.
which implies that your copying mechanism, cell generating mechanism, is still intact. Like
Yeah,
you're
it doesn't
reversing
wear
it
off
somehow.
so
You're trying to,
fast.
get that dip to a growth pattern
Correct.
kind of
Correct.
a thing.
Yeah.
This is one. Second one
Yeah.
being cryogenic kind of a technique. That is,
Hmm. Hmm.
you watch Civil War, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Captain
Obviously.
America. You know,
Captain
super
America.
soldiers
Yeah.
were stored in
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
liquid
Correct.
nitrogen. So
Huh.
that is it. Basically, that is it.
Yeah.
Whenever someone dies or something, there are companies which do that. That whenever someone dies, they either take the brain or body and then
Hmm.
freeze it in liquid nitrogen, hoping
Hmm.
sometime in the future, science would make a breakthrough, and using a brain or a whole body, they can regenerate that person somehow.
Oh,
मतलब-
I thought it was
And
only on movies, but ठीक है
no,
मतलब
people
maybe
literally
actual life
believe
maybe
that. And
people are doing it.
so the price tags to it. If you want your brain, if you want to get your brain freezed and stored, you pay 80
Hmm.
grand in dollars. And if you
Oh,
want your whole body to be freeze, you pay 200 grand in dollars. And even though there is such a high price tag, it is high. The money is
it
pretty
is
much,
high. Huh.
it's a lot high. There are around 1,500 people who have already signed up for this, who have already had their brains or bodies freezed up with the company. And this was way back in 2016. Right now, I think a new company opened up in Russia, somewhere in Japan as well, who are trying to do
Hmm.
this. So that we've come across
Civil
a
War
lot
has
of,
influenced people a lot.
yeah, yeah, kind of.
Hmm. Dude, yeah, even I came across like a very bizarre kind of a research in which the parents usually they store the umbilical cord's blood of a child, but the point of it is the umbilical cord blood is rich in stem cells, which are basically the cells which help for the regeneration or growth of your body parts or
Yeah,
body organs,
yeah.
like when you
Fetus
go from
to full
fetus
grown
to your
baby.
full body. So yeah, so the idea behind the whole thing is after you reach a certain age, biological age, this blood is systematically given to you in some sort of way to counteract your dying self, वैसा टाइप का
Wow. Mother.
मतलब
That's
कुछ भी
this is
सब
this is
जगह
the
कुछ
most
भी हो
bizarre,
रहा
huh? Among the three. This is the most bizarre one. That's the whole point. Like we can go on and on about scientific research, the bizarre ones, the good ones. Everything sounds bizarre
है.
because like I feel that if there's gonna be a scientific breakthrough, it's gonna be through bizarre things. It's
Yeah,
never gonna be through normal things. So we
exactly.
can go on and on about these scientific researchers, but
Hmm.
you know, these scientific research is are working towards functional immortality. But the question we need to be asking is, do we want functional immortality or do we want immortality for that matter?
True. Very interesting because everyone just running behind it. Ki they want it, they want it. I feel there must be a time where people should pause and just look at, okay, do we actually want where we are going? I feel it's a good stage where we should probably look at the pros and cons of how life itself could probably change. There are a lot of good bits, there are a lot of bad bits. I feel it's a good point of discussion.
Yeah.
So if I want to start, the most basic one I feel which comes to mind is, let's say if the average age becomes 150.
Now
So
let's not put a number
what
on
happens
it.
to
Let's not put a number on it.
Huh, let's
If you
let's not put a
increase your
number. If it
lifespan,
increases,
yeah,
if we increase the lifespan a lot, so the first obvious thought which comes to mind is population. Like the number of babies aren't stopping.
yeah.
We can't tell that have a baby after 35. So what happens to the balance there? There are a lot of thought process that with this the population will spike, and
Given limited
high population
resources,
is given limited resources and everything. It is a difficult
yeah,
challenge.
overcrowding and overpopulation is the challenge with
Correct.
immortality, like increasing your lifespan. To be precise,
Increasing, huh. The flip side of it, which a lot of people believe in, is that if they are to live for 200 years, humans are known to found solutions for problems, right? They might find some way. People believe that they'll find place in Mars, or
yeah,
they'll go
we might have
anywhere
a
else or
space
something.
colony.
Space colony.
Yeah,
I'm not sure as to how to rate this because both are fair enough.
yeah. It's basically if someone's given a more lifespan, he can make a
Hmm.
much better impact on the world
Correct.
from his side.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a pro.
Yeah, one very important was this only, like if let's say a lot of our known people or established people, or people who made a big impact, who died out of diseases or all of those, if they had a longer lifespan, maybe they could make more of an impact or things in those directions, where let's say looking at it on a micro level, personal point of view, I can see how people want to live longer. Even if you accept ki you have to die, you want to be of that stage ki not today. extent.
Yeah,
Let's push it further away.
yeah.
Huh.
That's there. But I feel the flip side of this would be people would just run into boredom. People would just run into things they don't have anything to do. Matlab, if they've given a lot of
Correct.
lifespan, you know,
Correct. Correct.
if that aging process is just stopped, they're not growing old.
Hmm.
Matlab, it comes on to a lot of philosophical terms
Exactly.
that what if it's just you and everyone around you is not got this? So all your loved ones and everything would die down and you're just there. So you would have to live with that burden of like death and everything eternally, with that sorrow
Hmm.
eternally. So that is the con.
Correct.
Like, where
Yeah.
do we put a stop to this?
Huh. Even coming to the lazy point, there's one side of it where people feel like if we have a very huge time in our hand, the purpose of life itself will diminish in some sort of way. Like given we have a finite amount of time, which everyone feels is less, everyone wants to do a lot in that. Everyone has that thing. I have limited time. Let me do this. Let me do this. I want to travel. I want to do all of it. Given like let's say I have 200 years, I might be like, huh, okay, like I have a lot of time. No hurry. And
वो
that
तो
side of
that though
mindset.
we still feel.
Huh,
But yeah, I get
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Huh. Again, people have that kind of a thinking where they feel if they have 200 years, they will feel it's a less pressured life. While a lot of people have that mindset that they have a lot to do, but they don't have enough time.
Yeah.
And they feel pressured because of that. I'm not very sure as to how. I'm saying there is a mindset. I'm not very supportive of that. I feel pressure comes more from the rat race. Like I feel if we let's say were to live double or something, like let's say I have 8 years for college, the normal college life would be probably to have 2 degrees of bachelor's
No,
or things like that.
yeah. I think the thing is, we as humans always want to live in a perfect world where there's no rat race,
Hmm,
there's no jealousy, and all of that.
hmm,
But even if we expand our lifespan, see, this is not something which
hmm,
is going to happen in a switch. You know,
correct.
Today just everyone gets to know, ki, fuck, if you take this drug, you're going to live for 150 years for sure. That's not the case.
Hmm.
This is a process. Like, probably
Slow
100
process.
years
Yeah.
down the line, the average lifespan would have increased to, for that matter,
Hmm,
200, 150, whatever the number is. You know?
hmm,
A
hmm,
big increase.
hmm.
So as the process goes on, this rat race is also increased to that level. So
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
so as the number of people increase, the rat race is
Yeah.
obviously going to increase to a much greater extent. So that's what comes to the con that given a lot of time, a lot of bad things might happen to you over time.
Hmm.
So people might
True.
go into depression, or people might take their own life just because they have a lot of time on hand. They just don't know.
Just pinching on that point itself, like as you said, like 100 years back, average lifespan itself was around, let's say 50,
50.
47, 50, and now it's 75 odd. So everyone, okay, we went through that phase and we achieved, okay, we increased the lifespan, but no one really saw if people were happy. Like, like it's not always about the quantity, maybe the quality of life itself. A lot of depression is more probably than what it was 100 years ago. Suicides are more and all that. So do we really, like, is that the final goal, living more or like living happy? Isn't that living
Yeah.
happy the like?
Is it quality or quantity that matters? Yeah. Continue.
Correct. There's a very cliche dialogue like, rather than focusing on adding seconds to life, you should focus on adding lives to seconds. It's very cliched, but it makes sense. Like, so I think that side of a mindset.
Again, matlab, all of this comes to this key. It has a lot of scenarios. If I tell you that
Hmm,
200 years, you get 200 years to live without any
hmm,
suffering, without any pain. So would you
hmm,
take that or not? Because we all know that even how much ever humans try to increase the lifespan, we all know how it's
hmm,
going to end. Because we've seen, even when people had a lifespan of 50 years, the
hmm,
later end of their life was in pain and suffering when they're approaching death. When it increased to
huh,
75, the same thing. And
hmm,
so, how much ever we try to approach functional immortality, it's gonna be the same.
hmm,
The pain and suffering is
hmm,
always gonna be there. So, that is
hmm,
something you can never invade or get through. That is something you
hmm.
have to go through.
Correct.
So, that is so now it
Correct. Yeah.
raises a question on a personal level ki, given the suffering and pain is always gonna be there, would you take it or would you not take it? So, that's
Correct.
the
Yeah.
whole discussion.
And one more thing about, let's say if the average lifespan increases, I feel throughout life, the fear of death itself will keep getting more and more. It's my personal opinion. I feel the fear of death itself has caused so many people to go about this venture of increasing lifespan or increasing mortality, or being immortal for that matter. So I feel if, let's say, I have 200 years, and I know now average lifespan is 200 years, every day you might feel more fear because if, let's say, now you die at 50, you feel okay, like it's not that bad because ठीक है, average lifespan is 75, or let's say you're at 75, it feels like you've lived a long life. Let's say if it's 200 or 150, 70 might just feel like, oh shit, you died so young. At that point in time, the fear of death itself, I feel, if that happens, might increase. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I feel
See,
there should be a balance between
I
both.
will always be a pro on increasing lifespan for sure.
Hmm,
मतलब, I will
hmm,
always be a pro. कि ठीक है, if I'm getting to live
hmm,
100 years, I would take it. Given my
hmm,
circumstances remain the same. Even if I'm going to suffer
hmm,
till 75 and
hmm,
then die, and then till 100, 200, I'm going to suffer in the end part, I'll take it. I don't mind it. But
hmm,
when you talk about immortality, right? Like
hmm.
indefinitely, you just stop your
Absolutely.
aging or you get into reverse aging, that you've put death to a very far extent that you can't even quantify it. है ना?
Hmm,
In that, what happens, what I feel is, we have a fear of death because we don't know what
hmm,
is there in the afterlife, for that matter, if you say.
hmm, hmm,
It's
hmm,
completely uncharted. We don't know what it
hmm,
is. The same is
hmm,
with indefinite immortality, matlab, indefinite lifespan. You don't really know
correct,
what
yeah.
the future holds. You should be equally scared on what the
Of that.
future is, because
Hmm,
right now we feel that we do know what future holds for us. There's a sense
hmm.
of
We have a false
belief,
belief.
sense of
Hmm,
insight that we do know, but we have zero sense of insight on what the afterlife is, what happens after death. But I just
hmm,
feel ki these fears are somewhere equal, matlab somewhere immortality and death are somewhere similar, because you
hmm.
don't have much insight into what's going to happen. It's just that
Correct, yeah.
we
Very,
believe
very
we
true.
have some insight into the future, and on the dead side,
Hmm,
we don't. We exactly have no clue. So only that belief
correct.
is the difference, but it's
Yeah.
somewhere just similar.
Yeah, I wanted to focus on that point where you said that you keep death so far away that you don't have that in your mind itself. And I don't know where I read it, but it fits very well. Where the true essence of life is in the consciousness of mortality. Basically, what I meant from this is consciousness of mortality. It's not that people are unaware they are mortal. It's not that they think that they will live forever, but they don't get the thought of that itself.
Yeah,
To explain it, I'll give you an example. Let's say someone who knows that they're gonna die in 10 days. Okay, they'll try to live those 10 days to the fullest because they know they have a very finite time and they want to enjoy every second of it.
yeah,
You push it to 40 years, we don't rejoice every moment that we are alive because, let's say, on an average, if 1,000 people are dying, I'm not one of them. So, that if people can think in that direction, that itself gives a very positive outlook to it, where I'm not saying accepting your mortality in a way where you be sad and you be like, ki marna hai, what's the purpose of living, and all of those. Nothing like that. It's just ki if people have that sense, have that conscious belief that there is a finite time, I feel they can put in more efforts towards the present.
yeah. See this, the 10 days and the 40 years analogy. It's like
Hmm,
we have a sense of time in a very different way. Like 10 days seems so less for
hmm,
us, and 40 years seems so much for us because we have
hmm.
such a different sense of timing.
Yeah. And when I gave the 40-year example, I didn't mean that you have to just live in the present and not focus on your future. You have to do that. It's not an idealistic scenario where you just focus on your present.
But the thing is, what it is that we as humans, on a cognitive basis, are always greedy. Are always
Correct.
gonna be greedy. That is
Correct.
what it comes down to. I want to earn more. I want to live more. I want to
Exactly.
eat more.
Exactly.
So the whole race for increasing our lifespan is always going to be there, and there are always going to be two parties. One who's in for it, probably the most of it. There's no one.
Hmm,
No one's going to be that. मेरे को मेरी lifespan increase नहीं करनी. Everyone wants
hmm,
to,
hmm,
just because they fear what's coming after it. They don't really know what
hmm,
is there after
hmm.
death.
Just like how you talked about greed, I feel that's a very nice way to put it. Like how we can say money itself. Everyone wants more. Correct. There's nothing wrong in that. But the point is, money is essential for you to give you happiness. So at the same time where you want more, you should feel satisfied with what you have, try to make the most of it, and while keep increasing or whatever for that matter. But just the rat race behind just increasing money, that's never good, right? Money is a secondary thing which is there to give you joy, which is there to give you happiness in some sort of way, that on an
Yeah,
absolute basis can't give you that.
yeah,
Like that, I feel lifespan, everyone wants more because they feel कि अगर ज़्यादा है,
तो
that
अच्छा
is
है.
equivalent to more happiness.
Yeah.
That's not always true. So
Again, all of this comes down to a lot of philosophical things. Matlab, don't be greedy and stuff. But if you look at it black and white, I do need more money. I do need more lifespan and stuff. Even
Hmm.
though I have no clue how happy or how sad I might be, I just need
Hmm.
more because I have a
Hmm.
sense that ज़्यादा है तो अच्छा है. And
Hmm.
but we've seen in history, we've read it in those stories and
Hmm.
everything that
Hmm.
when given indefinite life, how things have
Hmm.
ended for people. Like for that matter, if you see Bhishma in Mahabharata, he was
Hmm.
given, right, that he was
Correct.
given a
Huh.
blessing of immortality, that he could choose when to die. How
Hmm.
did it end for it? It ended very bad for him.
Yeah.
It's same in Mahabharata. Ashwathama was given a curse of
Hmm.
immortality. Matlab,
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
is a very basic good thing that we see. Immortality was given as a curse.
Hmm.
We
Yeah. Very
always think
nicely put
immortality
it.
is something is good, but Krishna gave it to Ashwathama as a curse that he would
Hmm.
live for like, I don't know, 3,000, 4,000 years with pain and suffering all around. So
Correct.
that
Yeah.
is what it is that, we have a sense that immortality is good, but history is
Hmm.
spoken in other ways for us.
Yeah. Very, very
So,
true. And I
yeah,
feel, just like how you spoke about immortality, I even feel about that the artificial immortality or the functional immortality which we were talking about. I feel it's good that that is happening, but I feel a lot of people at this point of time just feel that life is too short, want more,
yeah.
and I feel वही लोग are the ones who are just sitting and cribbing about life is too short, कुछ नहीं कर
I
सकते.
read this somewhere that millions of people long for immortality, and those are
Hmm.
the ones who actually don't really know what to do on a rainy Sunday afternoon. Matlab,
Exactly, exactly. It's a perfect way to sum it up.
कि,
You want more, but कर क्या रहे हो तुम लोग उसके वो time में? You just want more
you have no
blindly.
clue.
That's not good.
Yeah.
There is enough time if you look at it. Like there's so much time. Every second, every minute, every hour, you can do so much.
See, to sum it up and like to end it here,
Hmm.
there's a very good quote from Howard Phillips Lovecraft, and it goes
Hmm.
like, personally, I would not care for immortality in the least. There is nothing better than oblivion, since in oblivion there is no wish unfulfilled. We had it before we were born, yet did not complain. Shall we whine because we know it will return?
Well, perfectly said. Anyways, that's been our time, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Do let us know what you felt about this whole podcast, and hope to see you for our next episode. Adios. Bye.